What's up, Titans fans? Welcome to another episode of Titans Global Podcast. I'm your host, Maximus Titan Fan, and with me, as always, is my good buddy Link. What's up, bro?
What's going on? Good to be here, guys. As always, make sure to like, subscribe, and comment. We want to get this out to as many people as we can. The show is for you guys, so we want you involved. Definitely want you in the comment section, but stay up to date with us. As we move through this last end of the season, we'll try to have as much pregame and postgame stuff. So if you're already subscribed to us, give us a share. We would much appreciate it, and we'll get right into this one.
Yeah, so, to be honest with you, I've been kind of looking forward to this week because it's one that I think is easily winnable. What's up, Scoob? Tighten up, bro. Um, yeah, Jacksonville Jaguars. I mean, they're one of the few teams that are worse than we are. And they, lost their starting quarterback last week, who's supposed to be their golden child of the franchise. I don't see it, but whatever. Uh, we'll go over the crap first, I guess. The spread on this one was actually in the Titans' favor. Like I said, 3.5 points. That's what I got. Is that what you got?
That's what I got. Do you think if, let's say, Trevor Lawrence doesn't take that injury, do you think Titans are still favored in this one?
That's a good question.
I was thinking about that today. I mean,
I honestly don't think it hurts them too awful much because I feel like the NFL at least thinks that Matt Jones is good enough to start because he started for the Patriots for so many years. Although, man, I don't know. That's a very good question.
well, and see, you think so with these lines, the
You
the
got me
home
tripped.
team, the home team gets that extra 3 points. So I mean, basically, it's a pick 'em game without home field advantage. So I just feel like, I mean, I think personally, I think if Trevor Lawrence starts this game, they're probably a 2.5 point dog at home. That's kind of my thoughts on it. I was just curious, but look, I mean, don't be surprised if this offense doesn't operate pretty efficiently under Mac Jones. I mean, they're going to have a week to prepare for this. They still have some weapons on the offensive side of the ball. So I'm not, of course, we'll get into all that later, but I like the 3.5. I would like it better if it was 2.5. I'll put it that way.
All right. I honestly I like it when we're an underdog personally because then it's like a win-win. If you lose, it's not that big of a deal because you were supposed to lose anyway. The ones we're supposed to win tend to not go our way, and that just irritates the fire out of me. But anyway, I've been hitting the over/under pretty good this season. Uh, and the over/under is 40.5 points. That's what I got anyway. Is that what you got?
Yep.
I feel like on this one, it's an under. Honestly, I think it's a pretty easy under. Uh, but we'll see. I don't know. Maybe I think me and Link kind of disagree on some stuff on this one, so it might be a fun show.
Well, I'll just say I actually like the over in this one just because you've got two defensive that have really struggled to get stops. When you look at yardage allowed with the Jags, I think they're the worst or one of the worst in the league. And then you look at the scoring defense for the Titans. I feel like this one. I don't think it's going to get away from either team. I think it is going to be pretty close, and I don't want to go as far to call it a shootout. But I think this is an opportunity for both of these offenses to find something that clicks for them in this.
I think. Well, I don't know about a breakout game. I would love a breakout game for Levis. I feel like he's had a couple breakout games stacked together lately, but I would love to see him do better. Hit that 300-yard benchmark. Um, but I think this is a get right game for the defense. I think our defense struggled massively last week with stopping the run. I mean, they basically just picked us apart. It was honestly maybe one of the worst outings we've had defensively this season. So I feel like this week against a rather weak offense from the Jaguars, I think we finally see, because I mean our numbers look pretty similar when you're looking at them. The Jags, I think, have a bit of us on the passing game. We have a bit of them on the rushing game. I mean, there's, the turn. I will say this: when I was looking these stats up, okay, I was like, oh my God, the Titans have allowed 332 points
Mhm.
this season. And then I looked at the Jaguars and I noticed they've allowed 339 points this season.
Exactly.
I mean, like literally, as I'm looking at these stats, I was telling the wife, it took me a good bit into my research or my allotted time that I give myself because I am a busy dude to prepare for the show. It took me a good amount of time to find a stat that they were better at us in other than passing yards, which they only beat us by about 10 yards
Mhm.
total, not average. So I feel like again, this is a really good matchup for us. I feel like it's a get right game for the defense. What do you think, man?
Yeah, just to the commenter's point, I don't know that I would call it a breakout game. That's a strong term for me because I don't know what a breakout game for Will Levis is at this point. I've had to kind of tamper my expectations from what I thought I'd see early in the season, but I will say he should be able to move the ball. In this offense, in this scheme, I think it matches up pretty well with the Jags. I think the opportunities will be there. It'll just be on him to hit them. That's kind of the question for me. I mean, if Will Levis comes out and has a quote unquote breakout game where he's hitting those deep balls, where he's making his reads, where he's getting the ball out pretty quick. I mean, I think the Titans could absolutely run away with it. I just don't know that I have the confidence level in him to make that happen. That's kind of the thing for me, and that's going to continue because I mean that's what we're used to with him so far is inconsistency. Now the last few weeks he's obviously looked a lot better. I'm just looking for him to continue that. And if you look at the rest of this schedule, these last 5 games, I think the best opportunities for him are going to be these 2 Jags games.
Oh man.
But I'll take that. I doubt him because that's what he's shown us. That's what he's shown us. We've seen him make mistakes. We've seen him make the same mistakes again and again. We've seen the inconsistent play. We've seen him not be able to get the ball out. We've seen him hold on to the ball too long, and then we've seen him try to get the ball out too fast in the first read for a pick six. It's been inconsistencies. That's the biggest thing for me at quarterback is just be consistent. And that's what I'm lacking with him. So, now we're at this kind of rock and a hard place going into next season where you're thinking, okay, has he done enough to be the patch guy? Because if you're at this point and you still think Will Levis is undoubtedly 100% the face of this franchise, you're wrong. You're just absolutely wrong. If he's the face of the franchise going forward from this point right now, you're going to crash and burn. Can he change that? Absolutely, but he needs to show the consistency in these last games, and he has improved. Like I said, I mean, I give credit where it's due. He has improved. He started doing some better things, making some more educated decisions. I just need to see that the rest of the season. And I'm not saying he can't do it, but I made a promise to myself probably 3 weeks ago that there's nothing he can do in a sample size of 3 to 4 games that's going to change my mind and say, okay, this is the guy. You have to do it the rest of the season. You have to do it in the off season. You have to do it in training camp. I need to see it on a more consistent basis. So that's why I doubt him, because he's given me reason to doubt him.
Yeah, and to both of your points, he has improved the last 4 games. We have seen some development from him. It's nice to see that, but exactly like you said, his inconsistency. I was hoping his inconsistency as a rookie wouldn't carry over into his sophomore season. However, it did, and he was so what's the word I want, mirrored, I guess, because he was completely opposite before he got injured to after he got injured as to the way he's handled his games. And each game since he's been back from injury, he has progressively gotten better. So I'm really happy to see that. But as we've said a million times on this show, NFL is about consistency. Can you do it week in, week out? Be the consistent pro that we need you to be. Man, I really hope so. Um, he's got a lot of talent and he's got a high ceiling. It's just, can he get to that ceiling and stay at that ceiling for a good, amount of time to have a really good career in the NFL? And I don't think we know that answer until next year sometime.
Mhm.
This year, I mean, the rest of the stretch of the games that we got, very winnable games. If he goes out there and, poops the bed in any of these games, he's not going to do, he's not gaining my confidence any. So I really hope that he has good, consistent play for the rest of the season. But even at that, I'm looking at the level of competitors that we're going up against right now. And I just feel like I'm not going to be, I can say he's my guy for next year, but I can't say he's my guy for my franchise until I see into next year into some better opponents than what we're seeing the last 4 weeks. Although he did really great against the Texans, but I think everybody was highly motivated to do good against the Texans.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I still think I don't know that I need games next season. What I need is the rest of this season and at least an off season, because no matter what, you have to bring in some form of competition. Because when Mason Rudolph was brought in, Mason Rudolph was brought in to be the backup. That was made very clear by the coaching staff throughout the injury. As soon as Will Levis is healthy, he's back. They no longer need to bring in a backup to Will Levis. They need to bring in competition to Will Levis, whether that's a later round draft pick as a quarterback, whether that's a first round pick quarterback, whether that's somebody in free agency. They need to bring somebody in who gives him a push, who makes him try to actually go out and earn his job, because that's something that he hasn't had to do yet. I mean, can we be honest about that? Like even when Tannehill was playing, Will Levis was next man up. I mean, he was poised in this position of being the face of the franchise. And then we come into this year and it's like he's the guy no matter what. When he's healthy, we're not going to bench him. Everything's injury related. So for me, I think you have to bring in someone who can look at him and say, I can take your job. Not literally, but gives him the feeling in his gut of, this guy's here to take my job. I have to go out and prove it. So I think by off season, preseason, maybe week 1 or 2, I think all that's sorted out, because I think you're going to learn a lot in these last 5 games and over the course of this off season.
I would agree with that. Um, I don't. It's hard because at this point, if you bring in, somebody else, obviously you're letting go of Mason Rudolph, because I think he's on a 2-year contract. And I don't know that you find another serviceable quarterback like Mason Rudolph for cheaper than, $2 million a year. So I don't know. That's going to be an interesting thing to see, because I think, like always, NFL is going to be starved for quarterbacks. Anybody that's got any potential is going to be signed to some team, But I do acknowledge the fact that he does need to be challenged for his job. So, and I agree that Mason Rudolph is not the guy to do that. So, yeah, I don't know. Maybe we need to draft a quarterback. I don't know if it needs to be first or second round, but maybe we do need to draft a quarterback to at least try to push him a little bit, to be a little bit. But maybe we can let Mason Rudolph go and keep the young rookie on a small contract. I don't know. I'm just saying that I agree with you that he hasn't had to fight for his job, but I see a very barren wasteland of leftover quarterbacks in free agency this year. And as far as the draft goes, if you're not drafting Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward, which I'm not a big fan of either one of those guys, I don't see you getting a great. Now again, I'm sure there's a Patrick Mahomes somewhere in this draft, or not a Patrick. That's a bad Brock Purdy. That's a better way of saying it. I'm sure there's a Brock Purdy somewhere in this draft that somebody's going to find that is better than we all think 2 or 3 years down the road. But again, I just don't see anybody right now that's raising my eyebrows.
Yeah, and I mean, I think this draft class, I think and I don't want to get too much into that this early, but I will say I think this draft class has a lot of good quarterbacks. I don't know that it has any elite ones. So that's why I'm thinking, look, if you're sitting there in the third or fourth round and you've got your guys locked up for the first three and you're looking at best available, if there's someone there like I don't even want to throw out names at this point, but if there is someone there like a Jalen Milrow, a Carson Beck. I mean, if those names start to fall back into those later rounds, I'm just saying, if those names start to fall back into those later rounds, no, I don't think you spend anything over a fourth or fifth on those names in particular. But if they're sitting there, I mean, it gives you something. It's a rookie contract. You at least have someone on there that you can kind of figure out about going into the offseason. And then if you don't like what you've got in them, you have a much better quarterback class come next year. So I'm not opposed to that. I'm not above it. I think, you can afford to take a swing on this one when that's basically all you did with Will Levis this year.
I'll give you that. I will say this though, man, and I know you saw my face when you said Carson Beck. And the reason is because, I mean, if y'all watch my show, I mention it every now and then. I'm a Georgia fan, even though I live in Tennessee. I'm a Georgia homer, actually. I'm not a huge Titans homer, but I am a Georgia homer. For some reason, I think every kid coming out of Georgia is the next hottest thing. I wanted Ladd McConkey so freaking bad. And he actually has proven me kind of right. But my point is that I think every player coming out is like that. If they come from Georgia, I feel like they're going to be good in the pros, which doesn't always work out. As a matter of fact, I think it's like a 27% rate or something like that. It's actually pretty low. But anyway, did you read the thing about Carson Beck saying he doesn't watch football?
Oh, I didn't see this. Mm-mm.
Okay, so this is the craziest crap I've ever seen, and I'll stop talking about college ball and get back to the Titans. But so someone talked to him about, what do you think about, and I think it was the Ohio State Michigan game, I think is what they were asking him about, but they were like, what do you think about this other, highly competitive football game that we got this weekend? And he was like, I'll be honest with you, I don't watch football. I don't watch football for pleasure. It doesn't excite me. If I'm watching football, it's to study because I'm watching film. I do not watch football in my recreational time. And I'll be honest with you, man, maybe it's a higher percentage of football players than I think, but I feel like most football players just love the game of football. I mean,
Yeah.
that's how you start, right? So, I mean,
Yeah.
right? I mean, I couldn't believe that. So, if you don't like watching football, how in the hell are you going to play professional I don't know. It really threw me off, and I did not like the comment.
Before you even brought this up, I was literally thinking in the back of my head, like, if there was a college version of Will Levis right now, it is Carson Beck. And then what you just told me, the fact that Carson Beck, the quarterback for Georgia, doesn't watch football, that sounds like the most Will Levis thing. Like, if you told me Will Levis said that, I would 100% believe it. Like those are the two people that I would be like, yeah, I could see them saying that. Like, and it just and look, even the comparison when you look at Carson Beck, it's what's his problem? It's the consistency. When he's on, he can light the world on fire. I mean, he can light the field up. There's nothing you can do to stop him. He's hitting his shots. He's taking off with his leg. And then you look at Will Levis. It's the same exact thing. So if we're sitting here saying, look, Carson Beck probably fourth or fifth rounder, I think that's what you're saying about Will Levis right now. Like, we talked about doing a redraft. I don't think Will Levis right now is playing better than a fourth or fifth pick. So why not take a swing at another one at this point? I mean, that's kind of where I'm at with it. So, again, move away from college, but just to kind of wrap that up, it's just the consistency for me. That's all I want to see from Will Levis the rest of this season. If he can do that, if he can continue in the upward trend he has these last 4 games, I think there's absolutely a possibility he is starting for the Titans next year. I'm just not ready to hang my hat on it at this point.
If Nussmeier's there in the third, take him. Anyway, I don't know. I don't know why. I said that on social media like a month ago, and oh my God, dude, I got lit up. Of course, he he's done a bit better the last few weeks, but still, geez, man, I got a lot of hate for that. I was like, man, come on, I'm talking about taking a guy in the third round, man. I'm not talking about taking him as my number one. Uh, anyway, so where was I? I lost track. Dang it. All right, let's talk about NWI for a minute. Horrible segue. Let's talk about NWI for a minute. I had an interesting question posed to me, so I posed it back to the internet. I guess Titans fan base, whoever follows me, on two different social media platforms. Both of them, I got very interesting, varying responses. And the question was, what does NWI's contract look like next year? And I got anywhere from 2 to 4 million per year, all the way up to 18 to 20, 22 million per year. And it was just, I find it a very interesting and hard question to answer because he catches touchdowns. I mean, it's great. He's got fourth most in the NFL. He's got like 21 receptions, 22 receptions, something like that. It's silly. How many touchdowns to reception ratio he has is absolutely silly. So I don't know how you value a guy like that. Do you have any input? I'm sure you've got some input on this.
Yeah, because I was thinking, we talked a little bit before the show. I was thinking, because my thing was, when I look at that, I try to find a comparable player, somebody I can look at and say, when I look at NWI, this is kind of what I see in him. This is their contract. This is kind of where the market's at. This is what I think he'd be willing to ask for. I couldn't think of that player because there's not a lot of guys out there that do what NWI do, which is basically just catch touchdowns. But Jawan Jennings kind of kept popping in my head. Like, he's more of a gadget guy, but he's always available. He has a pretty good catch percentage, not a lot of drops. He's able to do what you ask him to. He's a good route runner. So that would kind of be the closest comparison off the top of my head. And when I look at his contract, that's kind of where I'm okay. I think it's 2-year, 15 million, 15.8. So it's on the higher end. But I think with the market right now, that would be a pretty fair asking price. Be a pretty fair asking price for NWI. But I also said, whatever it is, I think there needs to be a lot more incentive based stuff. I don't think I'd go more than maybe 8 or 9 guaranteed at signing. And then obviously throw in a bonus structure and that kind of thing. But I would definitely load that up with incentives, because if he's able to consistently catch touchdowns on a game-to-game basis like he is now, then he absolutely deserves every penny of that. But I couldn't see myself giving over that $15-16 million range on a 2-year deal tops. I couldn't do a 4-year right now.
Yeah, the years, I think you've got it spot on, man. I could not give him any more than a 2. I mean, if they wanted to give him a 3-year contract with a really, really low, low cap hit to, if we want to cut him in the 3rd year, okay. Maybe if you want to make the contract language out that way, that's fine. I don't care. As far as the salary and all that goes, I don't know. I think 7 to 10 million a year, I think is fair. Like you said, if he catches touchdowns like that consistently, then, and we'll talk a little bit about that later, but I think that he's worth that. And like you said, incentive laden deal, I think that's a big, you got a X amount of touchdowns, not on receptions, X amount of touchdowns, so I think all that stuff comes into it. Another thing that I really thought came into it was he's known for being one of our best special teams players. So when you take him off of a really bad special teams unit, it just takes away. I mean, he's basically like a star on the special. He's like Hassan Haskins. He's not good. I mean, he is. Point is
He's the king of crap mountain, is what it is. I
mean,
it's so bad it makes him look good. That's kind of where I'm at.
But I'm saying, like, if you take him away from special teams, which already sucks, how does that affect special teams? So it's just a whole slew of questions that goes into how much this guy's worth, and it just really interested me, and I thought it was a really interesting topic. Um, but yeah, like I said, 7 to 10 million, I think isn't crazy. I think 2 to 5 million guaranteed isn't crazy. And if you want to bump that up to maybe 25 if he hits all his marks, all right, with the 2 to 5 guaranteed, fine with that. It's still under 30 mil. You're still around 15 mil a year if he meets all his stuff. I'm cool with that, especially if the requirements are like 8 to 10 touchdowns a season. If he can produce this consistently, then yeah, like you said, you earn every penny of that, and I think that's really important.
Yeah, and I would agree. You didn't say this, but to the people who think it should be 4-year deals or 20+ million, I mean, this guy's not supposed to be a number 2 on this team. You can't pay him like one. I mean, that's kind of what I'm left with. Is like is he a really good number 3? Yes. Is he a super great solid number 4? Is he a good special teams guy? Absolutely. You just can't pay this guy like a number 2 receiver because you don't want him to be your number 2 receiver. That's where I fall with it.
That is a very valid point. If you pay him like a number 2, he should produce like a number 2. And is that really who we want as number 2?
Yeah, and I'm not saying he doesn't produce.
No.
Like we said, he all he does is catch touchdowns. But in an ideal world, you want a little more raw talent there.
Yeah, in an ideal world, that's your number 4 guy, or maybe number 3 when you get in the red zone.
Exactly.
So the other thing I want to talk about in this, since we're talking about Nick Westbrook Akine, I don't think Callahan is getting enough credit on figuring out how to use NWI better than any coach or coordinator that's been with the Titans since he's been with the Titans. I think he has unlocked some kind of cheat code. I think, part of it is, Nick Westbrook Akine is just in the right spot at the right time. Sometimes he is a very good catch point receiver. He has a really good catch radius. But I still feel like Callahan is using him and tweaking plays to make it easier. A good play of reference is the 98-yard touchdown reception. You got trips on the right, I think, and one receiver it was the tight end on the left. And they all just kind of do this fade post route to the left. They all just kind of streak towards the middle of the field, except Nick Westbrook Akine. He starts to go and then he streaks straight up, runs right by the DB, who's not paying attention to him because he's Nick Westbrook Akine. And boom, 98-yard touchdown. It's almost like Callahan knows they're not watching him super hard. And so he's figured out that, like I said, he's got a great catch radius, touchdown. I just feel like Callahan takes a lot of heat for stupid mistakes that he's made as a head coach, which he's made a few this season. Let's be honest. I like Callahan, and I still take up for him, but he has made a few pretty large mistakes for a head coach. But at the same time, I like to give credit where credit's due, and I feel like he is a major factor in NWI becoming this touchdown machine.
I give you a little bit of credit to that. Here's where I differ. I do think that the way they utilize him is correct, but I watched 4 weeks of football where Traylon Burks was out snapping NWI. So do I give him credit? Do I give him credit for using NWI the right way? Yes. Do I also fault him for not using NWI at all in the beginning of the season? Absolutely. You can't prove to me that if Traylon Burks doesn't get injured, that he's still not starting over NWI. That's where I have problems with that. How much credit do I give to Callahan versus how much credit do I give to the fact that Traylon Burks was injured? Because Traylon Burks, much like Will Levis, was making some pretty stupid mistakes and continued to get the start while NWI snaps were essentially zero. So that's where I have a problem with it. Is just the simple fact that um, you talked about Bill Callahan or Brian Callahan has done some pretty stupid things, and that to me is still one of them. That to me is still one of them. So good job in the utilization, terrible job in the talent scouting.
Yeah, no, and you bring up a great point there. But at the same time, Callahan's coming in, and I mean, I know he knows the past of the players, but you almost want to give him a fresh start because it could have been the last coach didn't rub him the right way. Maybe the wide receiver coach wasn't the best or whatever you're telling yourself. But Traylon Burks has all the natural athletic attributes you look for in a wide receiver, except for the
Absolutely.
fact that he has asthma and kind of a weight problem.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, he is non-human.
Mm-hmm.
A big man like that is not supposed to be able to run as fast as he does. However, he has terrible body control.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't understand how to point catch a ball. Uh, I mean, there is a long list of things I could say. Everybody knows I'm not a huge fan of Traylon Burks. And yeah, obviously in the beginning of the season, I would have rather seen NWI getting, especially looking back on it. But again, hindsight's 2020.
I mean,
Am I
even
I'm
then
just
though,
going to
we were
say, if I'm
asking
the coach
questions.
coming in at this point, if I'm the coach coming in thinking that I'm going to be, the NW or Traylon Burks whisperer and finally get production out of this guy that nobody else could, especially with the type of offense that he likes to run. Um, do I fault him for? No, not really. Although I do fault him for doing it as long as he did. And I also agree that if Traylon Burks didn't get injured, he might still be not out snapping. I think at this point, it's pretty obvious, but still, I, you make a good point.
Look, these are things. Here's my thing with it is the the stuff you look at that Traylon Burke, when you look at the metrics, everything's perfect. But when you look at the stuff he's not good at, the point catching, the cardio, which I mean he has asthma, that's not all fault of his,
Tendons made
but
out of glass.
exactly. I mean, look, the concussions. I mean, that's a part of it. When you look at that, that's stuff you figure out during training camp and practices. That should have been discovered a long time because you've got tape on the guy. Now if he comes in as a rookie, then I absolutely say, he's got the metrics, he's got the raw talent, he's got this and he's got the size, he's got the speed. Absolutely you stick with him for the rest of the year. But we have seen again this inconsistency from him, just like we have from Levis. It maybe even worse on Traylon Burke's part because at least Will Levis has had some bright moments. I can point to maybe one or two games where Traylon Burks has really put his talent on display. That's stuff that should have been hashed out in training camp and practice because even going back to probably week 3 or 4, I think we were even sitting here questioning, well, NWI, he's at least not going to drop these passes. He might give you a better opportunity. So I mean, even we were sitting here wondering about that. So I can't give him credit because again, I'm very serious when I say I would not be shocked if this dude was still starting if he wasn't injured. I mean, that's because it's just like Will Levis. I mean, until you prove otherwise, like you don't give me a lot of room to trust you. And some of the personnel choices this year, I've had questions about.
Traylon Burks, just for reference, has 53 receptions, 699 yards, one touchdown. That's over his career.
Yep.
That sounds like first year numbers. especially for a first round pick.
Not even good first year numbers. Like
That's what I'm saying. That's
average at best.
yeah. God, man.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's talk about Levis for a second. By the way, I wanted to address this earlier and I just kind of skipped over it. My bad. We're not a Will Levis hating show. I actually like Levis as far as the personality goes. I think his personality is hilarious and great. But he is a little bit of an extreme dude. And I feel like his play is, all over the place. As far, I mean, like we said, he did better these last few games, but that doesn't give him a free pass on all the crazy stuff he was doing earlier this season. So, but when pressured this season, Will Levis is 1 of 4 touchdown ratio with a 54 rating. When not pressured, which only gives him a yard, but still, when not pressured, he's 11 of 5 and a 102.5 rating. So, very different numbers, but at the same time, you can probably pull those numbers on just about any quarterback in the league. That's kind of a duh situation. If you don't have a giant guy breathing down your neck, you can make a pass easier. Don't know that it's that. Oh crap! What's the word I'm looking for? That different. I don't know if it's quite that huge of a leap when pressured. But, like somebody pointed out to me, they said he gets panicky. And I never really thought of it that way, but yeah, he does. He especially over the last 4 weeks when he was trying to adjust to not throwing the interception, but also trying not to take the sack. And you could see it in his head. He was trying to process it, but in the first, we'll say 2 games, he came back from the injury where he got sacked quite a few times in those first 2 games. He did not process well. You could even see it in his movements. Like he wanted to run, but he wasn't sure if he wanted to run, keep his eyes downfield. It was like this. I don't know if it was a decision problem or what, but in the last game, he was pressured. I felt like he was pressured most of the game. And even though we were we were already in a passing situation way early in the game, and they had already determined and dictated what we were going to be able to do with the rest of our game. I still feel like Will Levis did a pretty darn good job of maintaining, we'll call it pocket awareness.
Composure. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it looked a lot better this week than it did 3 weeks ago. But that's what it's supposed to be like. You're supposed to see constant progression consistently over and over and over again.
Yeah, and I'll prove this isn't a Will Levis Hayden show by giving him a little bit of grace in this area, because I also feel like he is he sees ghosts a lot. I think he does feel a lot of pressure in the pocket even when he's not very pressured. And look, I don't think there's a quarterback in this league that would feel super comfortable behind this offensive line. They have been better, but they have allowed a lot of sacks over the last 2 years, and those sacks, very many of them have went on Levis. So yeah, I mean the slightest bit of somebody in his face, he's going to be panicky. I just don't think there's any avoiding that, and that doesn't fix until your offensive line is fully fixed. So yeah, there's a question right there in the comments. I 100% agree that if the offensive line was slightly better, Will Levis would be slightly better. Now, given that grace, here's where I pull back a little bit. Will Levis, his metrics and what he was brought here to do was to be that composed quarterback who was good under pressure. So it's hard for me to give him a lot of props for something that I expected him to be in the beginning. He's big, he's physical, he has a strong arm, he's able to get the ball out when he does have the opportunities to get the ball out. So this was a guy brought in thinking, okay, no, this offensive line's not perfect, but we still think we can win games because of the good things that he gives us. And we've just seen those good things over the last 4 games because I do think he's been pressured. I mean, these defenses are coming in trying to tee off on him. So, yeah, I give him credit for that, but I also have to, again, kind of tamper my expectations some because this is what I wanted him to do from the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you make a really good point. But I will say something that I have seen him progress on that really annoyed me, especially in the Indianapolis game where he was maybe not injured. I don't know. It's still kind of gray there, but his accuracy, his deep ball accuracy is really what he does perfect, a lot. So that's what I expect. And last Sunday's game, I saw him fit balls into places that, I mean, you call them dangerous throws. They are, I guess. But, I mean, he puts it in a spot where, and the wide receivers were doing a decent job of, I don't know. They dropped a lot of balls last week. What am I talking about? My point is that he fit the ball into places last week where I just, as a quarterback, I don't know that I would try to make that throw. And maybe in a different situation, he doesn't. But he can. And that's kind of the point, I guess.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that is something we look back to last year when we were saying, man, if these interceptions were being caught, we're having a totally different conversation. And then you look at this year and it's okay, like you're fitting the balls in some tight windows, but should you even be going to that read in the first place? I mean, we're talking about a guy who still has more interceptions than touchdowns, if I'm not mistaken. So I agree that he has the ability to do it, but it's like, is that really what you're supposed to be doing? Like that's where I kind of differ on that. I don't want a Jameis Winston with 30 touchdowns and 30 interceptions. Like that's not what we're looking for as a Titans franchise. So yeah, I think he does have good accuracy. I don't know. Some of these I still question.
Yeah, and I don't blame you for that. By the way, just a quick update. I had to look it up because I was unsure myself. Uh he actually has a 12-9 touchdown
Oh,
to
okay.
interception ratio for this year, and 8 of 4 for last year. So technically, he's 20 of 13, which actually isn't that
It's not
bad.
terrible. Yeah.
So but I like that you brought up Jameis Winston, because that is a guy that plays a lot like Will Levis. I mean, the only difference really, and the stuff he says, I mean, is it's very much like Will Levis. I'm kind of starting to see a really big comparison there now that I'm thinking about it. But it's fun. I'll say that it's fun to watch him. I honestly did not think that I was gonna watch this. What was it? The Steelers? I think it was the Steelers, right? It was the Steelers and Browns, and they went like nuts. Was it Monday Night Football? I think it was. I don't
A
know.
couple weeks ago,
Anyway,
yeah.
yeah, I was gonna say I would have never thought that would have been the outcome of that game, man. Especially with the way the two teams were playing and stuff. That blew my mind, but it was fun to watch. Even though Jameis Winston, he had some pretty funny comments in the press too. I don't remember exactly what they are, but guy makes me laugh, and that's the point. And I like Will Levis because he makes me laugh. And anybody that can laugh at themselves, I think, is great. But I don't want to be a laughing stock. And that's what the Mayo commercials kind of were when he was not doing well. When he's playing well, hey, that's great, man. Be silly. I love that. But
Yeah,
play well first,
when you
damn.
talk about meme ability, it's Will Levis.
Oh,
It's Will Levis, Jameis Winston. Like it's a toss up for me. I think that having a quarterback like that, I agree with you. It's very fun because you never know what you're going to get from game to game or play to play. I'd still rather win a Super Bowl. Like I'd rather.
yeah.
I mean, the only thing I like better than laughing at my quarterback is winning football games. So I don't know. I've seen a lot of people on the hype train for trying to get Jameis in this offseason too, and it's just like I'm not trading a tomato for a tomato.
No, look, man. Yeah, I was gonna say I don't want the backup to be a mirror image of the starter. That is
Exactly.
not. That's no bueno, man. I mean, it's good for. I mean, I guess if you don't want to change your offense when you're, but I just don't like that idea.
You got to have a good offense before you can worry about changing it.
I will say this, though. Somebody else brought something to my attention that I thought was really interesting. And again, this will go to prove that we're not a Will Levis hating show, or at least I'm not. Do you know who a lot of people compare Will Levis to and say this is more than likely what he's going to be as a pro?
I'm hoping it's not Josh Allen.
Brett Favre.
Mm,
And when you think about it, I did the same thing. I went, nah. Well, I don't know. I guess when you think about it, because I mean, he is kind of that shotgun guy with the big arm. He's really physical, not afraid to run, kind of makes mistakes and just kind of does it anyway. Got a brash attitude. I don't know. I saw a lot of comparison there, and I thought that was an interesting comparison.
Yeah, I metrics, yes. Attitude, a little bit. I mean, Brett Favre was just kind of mean. Will Levis is just too emotional, in my opinion. I mean, that's just me. I think as a 25, 26-year-old quarterback in the NFL, I just think his highs are way too high and his lows are way too lows. That's where I would say they differ the most. I think Brett Favre was a lot more composed as a player. I think he was able to control his emotions a little bit better. He was just mean from what I understand. So I can see it to a point, I guess. I mean, I hope so. I mean, that's what you ultimately want out of Will Levis, in my opinion. You want the Brett Favre, the Josh Allen type. There's just a lot more guys like that didn't succeed than did. There's only one Brett Favre. There's 100 guys that are kind of like Brett Favre. So that's kind of where I am with it. At this point, I just want Will Levis to be Will Levis and the best version of Will Levis that he can be, and see if it's enough.
I'm with you, man. I'm with you. Yeah, please figure out how to be the best version of yourself every week. So I don't know. I think we've pretty much scrambled on everything I wanted to talk about this week. I hate doing bold predictions and score predictions, but I don't know. You want to do any of that crap?
Yeah, going back, I still like the over in this one.
Ooh.
Yeah, I don't hate. I don't hate the 3.5. I do feel like, out of the games left, this is a good opportunity for the Titans to score some points and to get a win. It's another divisional game. They don't have the best games against the Jags. I just feel like in this one they're going to find ways to get some stuff going. Let's get crazy. Let's go Titans. Let's go Titans 28, Jags 24. I'm still not ready to give them over 30. Still not ready to give them over 30.
Holy Moses. Yep. 20, did you say 24 Titans?
28 Titans, 24.
Oh, 28 Titans.
28 Titans. Yeah, I'm not going to give them 30. I do think they break the 17-point ceiling that they have so much trouble with. I just think both of these offenses are going to find things they like. The Titans can't stop a nosebleed in the red zone. And the Jags just allow teams to throw crazy numbers. So I don't know. I think this is still a pretty exciting game. I think Mac Jones does come in and does a pretty good job of running this offense with the preparation he's had. So yeah, I like 28-24. I can get behind that.
I'll throw out a couple stupid things. I don't mean stupid as in stupid. I mean stupid as in what I think is realistic without getting incredibly stupid. Anyway, Awuzie's may be back. Probably will be back. There's a very good chance he plays in this game. And I feel like, again, like I said, it's a get-right game for the defense. So I think, I don't know, a couple turnovers.
From both teams?
Probably. I mean, more than likely, yeah. I hope if we do turn it over, it's on our special teams unit and not our damn quarterback or running back fumbling the ball for the first time. On offense, though, I will say I think this is one of Will Levis's best chances to get over that 300-yard passing mark. So I do agree with you that I think it could be a very high-scoring game for the Titans. However, I don't think it's going to be a very high-scoring game for the Jaguars. And when I say a very high-scoring game for the Titans, 24 I think is a very high-scoring game for the Titans. That's my prediction. 24, Jaguars 10. I don't think I just feel like they can't really get anything going. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Matt Jones comes in and lights it up. God, I hope not. But I feel like, man, I don't know, dude. We didn't talk really about the injuries either, because now I'm sitting here thinking to myself, well, I don't know. Roger McCreary might not be playing. Brownlee might not be playing.
Exactly. Yep.
Of course, I don't know about Brownlee though. I look at it was limited or a full participant Thursday, but he was out Friday. So I feel like that was more of a rest thing than it was he can't practice. But I don't know. We'll get a better feel of that, I guess, game day. I don't know. There's some injuries on the Titans side that don't look great.
Well, and I mean, I'll say this too. I don't think Mac Jones has to come in and put the ball through the air to be efficient in this game. I mean, you look at the Titans, their run defense last week was absolutely abysmal. And now you're going against Tank Bigsby and Travis Etienne. And I mean, these guys ain't no joke.
I
so
was going to say Etienne's pretty good.
I mean, if you can't stop the run and then, Mac Jones starts hitting, because a lot of what the Jags are going to do, I feel like it's going to be what the Titans have tried to do the last few weeks. The screen game, the runs up the middle, the quick passes. I mean, they're going to try to keep this thing as simple as possible. And it's really going to come down to which defense shows up for the Titans. That's what it's going to be for me, because if this team comes out flat like they did last week, this could get ugly the other way around. These division games, the Titans said it when they went up against the Texans. In these divisional games, the records don't matter. The stat sheets don't matter. Weird things happen in divisional games. Teams get upset in divisional games, and it's not always the best team that comes out hot and comes out efficient. So, they're going to have to be prepared for this one, because I promise you, if the Titans want to win, the Jags want it just as bad.
Agreed. And I don't think any team tanks. We've talked about this a million times, but I just don't. I don't know. I just don't see it that often. I can't see any NFL franchise saying, "Screw it, let's just get a better draft pick." But Jaguars do have number one pick as of right now, so I feel like a win for them would almost be bad, especially if they can pull, maybe Shadur Sanders as the number one overall pick. I could totally see that, especially in Jacksonville. And then, Jacksonville completely ruin him. Or he decided not to play for Jacksonville because they're a terrible team and his dad doesn't want him playing for a terrible never mind. Forget I'm talking about Shadur Sanders. Anyway, yeah. So I feel like it's an easy, winnable game for the Titans. Don't think it's that high scoring. You do. Let's see who's right. We'll confer Monday, I guess.
Absolutely.
Anything you want to wrap up for this evening?
No, I think that's it. Just stay with us. Again, we do a lot of stuff over on YouTube. If you haven't checked it out, give us a view over there. And just excited to get to talk to you guys again. We do this every week, twice a week. So keep tuning in with us. Thank you for being here. And we'll see you next time.
Yeah, I honestly, I have to say this is one of my favorite things I do every week. I am a very busy and stressful dude, and this is one of my stress relievers. When I come back here, I don't really think about work or life in general. I'm thinking about the Titans, which isn't the most stress free thing to talk about, but it works for me. So let's go. Again, guys, we appreciate you if you've been with us the whole time. Like, subscribe, share, get us out there. We are the realest podcast you'll ever see. Till next time, tighten up. Peace out.